This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Volkswagen and Rivian's joint venture is attracting interest from other automakers. Rivian's chief software officer, who is also co-CEO of the JV, said it's in talks with other OEMs about supplying them with the software and electrical architecture they develop, but he didn't say what companies they're in talks with. VW and Rivian formed the joint venture last year to develop an electronic architecture for both companies that will use Rivian's software tech. VW invested $5.8 billion into the JV, but with so much interest from other automakers in the tech, we wonder if somebody will swoop in to buy Rivian, which currently has a market cap close to $13 billion. Several Chinese car companies are fighting back against the EU's tariffs on their cars. BYD, Geely, and SAIC filed complaints with the Court of Justice of the European Union. The Chinese Chamber of Commerce also filed a complaint, so this effort clearly has the backing of the Chinese national government. But don't expect this to result in any quick actions. It will take 18 months for any of this to be settled, and whatever the results are, there are likely to be appeals. And it's important to note that while BYD and Geely are independent automakers, SAIC is state-owned. Pretty much all the SPAC companies that were all the rage a few years ago have gone out of business or are in deep financial trouble. And now we can add Nikola Motors to that list. The EV and fuel cell semi-truck startup has lost 95% of its value over the last year. And last October, the company said it only had enough funds to operate through the first quarter of this year. So it's no surprise to learn that Nikola is exploring a number of possibilities to raise cash, including selling part or all of the company. It's also considering partnerships with others or raising new funds. Management has not made a decision yet, but it looks like Nikola could be on its last legs. Kia posted its highest ever revenue, operating profit, and operating profit margin in 2024, thanks to favorable exchange rates and selling the most vehicles in the history of the company. It sold a little under 3.1 million vehicles in 2024, an increase of 0.1%. That helped push its revenue to nearly $75 billion, which was up 7.7%. Operating profit climbed to $8.8 billion, a 9.1% increase, and its net profit went to $6.8 billion, a jump of 11.5%. Kia is hoping for another good year in 2025 as well. It's aiming to sell 3.22 million vehicles, which would be a 4.1% increase over last year, and a good portion of that bump in sales will come from EVs. Last year, it sold 201,000 pure electrics, up over 10%. And this year, it will continue the global rollout of the EV4 and EV5. On top of that, Kia is adding more hybrids to its lineup, as well as the Tasman pickup, the PV5 PBV, and the Syros SUV for India. And in other financial news, Chinese automaker SAIC, which has joint ventures with General Motors and Volkswagen, is struggling. Its sales dropped 20% last year, and according to preliminary financial results, its net income may have dropped as much as 90% in 2024. The automaker says its profit will range between $207 and $262 million, but analysts were expecting a net profit of about $1.3 billion for 2024. Even worse for SAIC, it said it would have lost nearly $830 million if it weren't for it selling a 51% stake in MG's India operations. And in December, GM announced it would take charges and asset write-downs of more than $5 billion for investments in the joint venture, which is also contributing to SAIC's financial woes. SAIC will release its official 2024 financial results in April.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Only badasses need apply is the headline for a new job listing at Stellantis. Dodge is looking for new brand ambassadors, or what it's calling badassadors, to travel to auto shows, vehicle launches, enthusiast events, drag races, and more to help promote the brand. These badassadors will have their travel expenses paid for, appear in brand promotions, get free merch, and have access to Dodge vehicles. The program kicked off this week at the Barrett-Jackson auction, and anyone can apply now. Looks like China is cracking down on vehicle safety. It's not often you see reports about recalls in the country, but we saw 4 stories of automakers announcing recalls, which seems somewhat out of the blue, and there could be more. The biggest involves Tesla, which is recalling more than 1.2 million vehicles in China for a couple of issues. One involves problems with rear-view cameras, and the other is related to steering. Tesla had similar recalls for both issues in North America, and they'll also be fixed with an over-the-air update. Xiaomi will fix nearly 31,000 models with an OTA as well. Some of its SU7 sedans are having problems with their smart parking systems. Feng Chengbao, a brand under BYD, was also hit with a recall that affects just under 8,000 models that could have loose bolts that could cause a fire. And the final recall we saw was for Baozun's new small SUV called the Yep. A little over 1,100 examples need to have the software for their braking system fixed, but it doesn't seem like it can be done with an OTA like some of the others. BMW has a massive lead selling electric cars compared to Mercedes and Audi. Last year, BMW sold an impressive 368,000 EVs globally, up 12% from the year before. Mercedes sold about half of that, 185,000, and that was down 23%, while Audi sold 164,000, down 8%. Not only did BMW sell more than Mercedes and Audi put together, it's about to launch its new class family of EVs, which BMW expects to boost its EV sales even more. Analysts say BMW's strategy of using vehicle platforms that can accommodate different powertrains gave customers more choice of what they wanted. So the price gap between a BEV and ICE car at BMW is a lot less than it is at Mercedes or Audi. Another reason BMW is confident that sales will go up is that 3-year leases on Teslas that were written in 2022 will expire this year. And as thousands of EV owners come back into the market, they're going to find a lot more selection than when Tesla was practically the only game in town. There's an interesting story in Wired about 2 hackers who broke into Subaru's Starlink connectivity platform. One of the hackers had bought a new Subaru for his mom and said they were able to easily hack into it, controlling some of the car's features, like locking and unlocking the doors and honking the horn. So they notified Subaru, which quickly patched the area where the hackers broke in. Hopefully, they got some sort of payment or bug bounty for their actions. But the real story is that the hackers also found Subaru tracked everywhere the mom drove for an entire year and kept that data on file. Subaru says it needs that data so it can notify first responders to where to find a car in case of an accident. But that doesn't explain why Subaru keeps detailed historical travel data for years. We think a logical explanation is that it sells that data to third parties, and data monetization can be quite lucrative. And our guess is that if Subaru is doing this, so are other car companies. And as we reported earlier this week, General Motors was banned from selling customer data for the next 5 years. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Intrepid Control Systems. Over-the-air engineering boost your game. And by Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.